Everybody's always asking what kind of loans we do here at Columbia Green Federal Credit Union.
Let's tell them.
Holiday,
Consolidations,
quads,
snowmobiles,
boats,
back to school,
lawnmowers,
campers,
motorcycles,
first-time auto buyers,
weddings,
trucks,
heating oil,
RVs,
furniture,
vet bills,
dirt bikes,
vacations,
appliances,
home improvements,
pools,
jet skis,
home equity.
anything at all.
You want it, we got it.
All right, welcome back to the Press Box, presented by Columbia Green Federal Credit Union. We have a lot of kind of national news going on in the area right now, but mainly Columbia Green's Tanisha Edge is still reaping some rewards of her past 2 seasons over at Columbia Green.
Absolutely, and deservedly so. Brian, you got to look at it this way. She is one of the most decorated, and not only that, she is absolutely one of the best athletes, male or female, to ever suit up for the Twins. She has been a dynamic player. She has done so much for the program, the school in general. She's a great student athlete. And man, we wish her the best in the future. Whatever she chooses to do, you got to feel she's going to be a great success. But what an honor! I mean, her jersey, uniform number 1 of Columbia Green Community College Twins, will be hanging in the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame down in Knoxville, Tennessee. A lot of people saying, I didn't even know they had one. Or where is it?
And it is. It's the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, not to be confused with Columbia Green's Hall of Fame or just other smaller but still significant Hall of Fames. It's the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame.
When I first saw the press release, that's what I thought. Like, oh, that's a nice little gesture. That I thought maybe they were retiring her number, or just hanging it up there for a while because of all she did for the school and the basketball program. But no, it's literally going to be hanging in the Women's National Basketball Hall of Fame down in Knoxville, Tennessee, because of what she did, the great season she had, the great career she had, and
1,000+ points scored over at Columbia Green. And this is a program too that just came back 2 years ago. She was one of the first recruits that they had. Took the team a respectable season her first year, comes in the second year, and they do really well in the league, go into the playoffs, 1,000-point scorer again. And if you watch those games that she's playing in with her teammates, she leads the team too. She's a big captain and does everything that a captain should do. But also, she's been great. I mean, we've spoken to her a couple times.
Definitely.
Very articulate. Your typical college kid. But a great face for the Columbia Green program.
And I think her effect will be far-reaching. What she was able to do for Columbia Green and the program. Like you say, they had a women's program. It disappeared for about 10 years.
Right.
And what a great leader to come back with. I mean, 2 great years. And I think it goes to show what can happen at Columbia Green for a lot of kids that might be thinking, they're on the fence. Do I want to go here? Do I want to go there? Right. That Columbia Green, you can excel and you can move onward and upward, not only education-wise, but in collegiate basketball or collegiate athletics of any type. Definitely. And she's going to definitely move on to a college of her choice, and we're very interested to see what that might be. Yeah. But I think people will see that and say, hey, I can do that too. And we'll end up going to Columbia Green. So I think she's a great ambassador, not only for the sport, but for the college in general. And hats off to her. She did a great job, and to Coach Jamie Bates and his staff for recruiting her and bringing her in and letting her do her thing. She was exceptional.
And they actually had to talk her into playing. She didn't even want to play coming out of high school. She went to Saugerties, was a 1,000-point scorer down there. Wasn't sure what she wanted to do. They talked her into playing, and from there now you have a jersey hanging in the Hall of Fame.
Aren't they glad she did? And she's glad she did too, I'm sure, because she was exceptional.
Definitely. Now moving on a bit to the high school sports, we have softball, which has 3 teams all ranked in the state. 1 for Class B, 2 for Class C. In Ichabod, Class B, ranked number 2.
Right.
At the moment, and Maple Hill and Greenville both ranked in Class C.
That's right, and it was a long time coming, but finally the state rankings are out for softball, at least. As of this taping. Baseball ones hadn't come out yet, but I think it's because of the weather situation in the Northeast, the disparity between the teams and the games. Some teams down here have played 10, 12 games, while the teams up north, because of the weather situation in the North Country, have played like 4 or 5. So it's not really fair, and you don't get a real accurate gauge as far as rankings. But the softball rankings are out. Ichabod Crane deservedly in the top 5 in the state Class B. They are number 2 in Class B. Susquehanna Valley, which is a perennial postseason team, Section 4 defending champs, are number 1 at this point, undefeated. But I got to tell you, if there's a better Class B team in the state than Ichabod Crane, I'd like to see it because they are, again, Coach Tracy Natransky has a dynamic team led by the great Callista Piven. I mean, she's a terrific player, and it's not like it's a one-person team either. She's got some hitters around her, and she's quite a hitter herself. We all know about her pitching ability.
Right.
I mean, she's thrown 50 innings this year, given up 7 hits, walked 6, struck out 118, and hasn't allowed a run.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, can you get better than that?
You can't.
You can't get better than that. Come on now.
And for these 3 teams, there's one common factor for all of them: phenomenal pitchers.
Phenomenal pitchers.
Everybody knows about Callista. Ava Fitzmaurice over at Greenville, also a great basketball player.
Yes.
One of the best in the state.
Yep.
And now probably one of the best Class C pitchers in the state as well.
Sure.
And Maple Hill has Alyssa Hoteling, who's had a phenomenal season. I think for her career, she has close to 800 strikeouts as well.
Ava led the team, the Greenville team, to the state Final Four last year. It was a big surprise because, I mean, a lot of people thought Chatham might be the team to beat in Class C and get to that Final Four, but it was Greenville, and that was due in large part to Ava and her pitching ability. And she's got them playing very, very well again this year. Her pitching stats are right where they were last year. I mean, she another pitcher that's just incredible, and the numbers she puts up phenomenal. And she's got them in contention again for another Section 2 title and a Patroon Conference title. Again, as of this taping, they had lost maybe 2 games in the Patroon, and they had just come off a big win over Maple Hill, which was
their first loss, right?
Yep. And Alyssa Hoteling, as you mentioned, for Maple Hill, another tremendous pitcher. Actually, Maple Hill was ranked in the state in Class C ahead of Greenville. Maple Hill is 8th, Greenville 14th. Before that loss. So when the next rankings come out, interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Right. And we're heading into the last little bit of the season here, so it will be interesting to see what these teams do, what they're ranked coming into the Section 2 tournament, and I think those 3 teams for softball particularly can go quite far. Again, Chatham is a great team. They're going to have a solid postseason. Kind of Kills always has a good softball program, so it'll be interesting to see those teams, especially Ichabod. I think they have another shot at getting back to the Final Four, maybe another state title.
Well, you know, and deserve it too, because like I say, Callista Pippen has been, since she's been a freshman, has been outstanding. She's been consistent and just keeps getting better and better. And as you had pointed out, it is a great way to bookend her career. She started with a New York State championship as a freshman. Started her career as a freshman with a state championship, and it would be nice, as she's now a senior, to end her career with that bookend of a state championship. And baseball-wise, my goodness, I mean, just as we expected, everything. All these teams are beating each other up. There are we thought maybe 4 teams that could be contenders for the league crown. There's basically 6, and the teams beneath them, and I use that term beneath loosely because these are all good teams as well,
and they could upset you any day of the week.
Anybody can beat anybody. Nothing surprises me in Patroon Conference baseball. Every team is as good as advertised, and every game is competitive, and it's really going to be a dogfight these final 2 weeks. There's a lot of teams have a lot of makeup games to put forth and to play, so we'll see how it all shakes out, but there's a lot of good competition in Patroon Conference baseball.
Absolutely. And moving on to even a bigger stage, we have the Kentucky Derby, which was recently run, and one of the horses in it comes from Pine Plains. Audible was foal, which is, he was born at the Berkshire Stud, and that's over in Pine Plains. That's their 3rd horse to be in the Kentucky Derby, which is pretty crazy for Pine Plains.
It's amazing. Pine Plains, a little area, beautiful area. Pine Plains. I mean, you have horses going to the Kentucky Derby that were born in this area from Pine Plains going to the Kentucky Derby 3 now. And you've had an NBA lottery pick. I mean, what's in the water over there? I mean, come on. You know, but yeah, that's an amazing feat.
Yeah, and over at Berkshire Stud, that's run by Doug Koch, who he's been there for decades. He was telling me a little bit about how the whole process in New York goes, and I didn't realize that New York, the NYRA, New York Racing Association, back in the 70s, all these farms are failing, and they want to rejuvenate the area, so they make big incentives to open horse farms.
Absolutely.
And this is one of them.
And it's a beautiful spot, not only in Pine Plains, but our entire area, just a beautiful area, I would think, to raise horses. I mean, so it's good. It puts us on the map in our specific area. And then with Saratoga just up to the north of us, I mean, it
makes sense too that there's a local place that can produce horses. I think they're on track to do 40 births, foals of horses over at the Berkshire Stud this year, and that's 40 potential thoroughbreds going to be racing.
Could be a Kentucky Derby winner amongst them.
There could be. One of them was born on the Derby Day. So that
could be an omen.
That's it.
For sure.
Now, this coming weekend, we have Alvin Varmal on May 11th. He's going to be fighting against another undefeated prospect.
Yep, Charles Foster, who is like Alvin, 15-0.
Yep.
Again, you look at his record, and there's only so much you can draw as far as a conclusion when you look at a guy's record. And, okay, he fought this guy, he fought that guy. They could do the same to Alvin, say, okay, he didn't fight, a world-ranked contender yet. But that's why this is such an interesting matchup, because it certainly is a step up in competition for Alvin. He's fought a lot of solid fighters, but guys with records that weren't the most impressive. But then again, neither is Charles Foster. So we'll see what happens here. But it's a great spotlight for Alvin to show what he's got, and we know he's got a lot to show. He's a tremendous fighter. Coming from the Customado KO gym over in Catskill, and has trained with some local guys. I mean, Kyle Lyles has handled him very well and brought him along in his career. And I think this is the natural progression for him. Now that he's got that good record, now let's take that step up and see what you got. Fighting as a light heavyweight. He's fought as a cruiserweight as well, but now as a light heavyweight, I think he's definitely a contender. I mean, the knock on Alvin has always been, well, he's not a tall guy, and he's facing a guy who's like 6'1", 6'2". So, but you know what? Mike Tyson wasn't the tallest guy either, and we all know what he could do. So, and again, not to put Alvin in the same breath and put pressure on him as Mike Tyson. That's his idol, we know. But I got a feeling that Alvin's going to have something for Mr. Foster that night.
Absolutely, and Showtime does this periodically.
Showbox.
It's a perfect place, right? Showbox, where you can pit two of these guys who haven't fought the best competition, but that's how everybody in boxing starts out. You're not fighting in your first fight for a world championship.
No.
So it's the perfect spotlight. They get a little TV time. They're fighting another guy who has similar background, similar record. And end of the day, you see which one is going to be potentially the next star on a network like this.
And the highlight on the card is Devin Haney, who's fighting as a lightweight against Mason Menard in the featured bout of the evening. But hey, maybe Alvin step in there and steal a show, because it's a great platform for him, and to show what he's got, and hopefully to use this to move up the ladder even more in his career.
Yep. And also, just a couple weeks ago, we had Mike Davis on here, Caro guy, Catskill guy. 5-0, June 11th, he's going to be fighting. He's out in Vegas this past week and getting the whole tune-up for the UFC. He was everything on his Instagram. Go find him. I think it's Mike Davis MMA, because he's just posting videos and pictures of himself on the lead-up, and did a big press tour and everything with them. And if you want to see a little bit of Vegas, follow him, because he'll tell you everything around there.
A little bit. You could see a lot, because I mean, it was great, because Mike, he's such a great character. He's not only a tremendous fighter, but he's just such a good guy, and I think he can go far, not only in his career with his one-loss record, but he'd be a great spokesman for the sport. He's just such a great guy, and he took all sorts of video and pictures, and it was fun watching the week that he had out there. He and Pete White, his manager and trainer, I mean, they're together out there. They're a great team, and it looked like they had a really great time. But when it comes down to it, he's all business when he needs to be. But it looked like they had a fun time out there, and it was very exciting for him, I know.
Yeah, now he'll get back to Florida, where his home base is, with Pete White, and he also trains at a couple other gyms down there, but mainly with Pete. And so Mike's 5-0, 5 knockouts. We went through this before, 22-0 or so overall, and fighting Sodiq Yusuff, 6-1. It's going to be on the UFC Fight Pass, I believe, online. And it's Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. And again, it's the same type of thing as Alvin. Both contenders. These are the guys. They're fighting right in front of Dana White, who runs the UFC, which has to be an immense amount of pressure. But and whoever wins this fight is going to get a contract to the UFC. So the pressure's on you. It's a very small, intimate, at the UFC training center there, which Mike got to see a little bit of. And he'll be fighting right there in front of the boss, in front of the owners, in front of, I think Snoop Dogg actually does a little commentary there too. So
it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, quite a bit of exposure. And I don't see Mike losing.
No, you know what? Like I say, he's such a great guy outside the ring. Once he gets in it, and or in the cage, or in the octagon, and he's all business. And he just strikes me as the type of guy that's not going to let any kind of pressure get to him. He's just that type of personality. He's all business once he gets in there, and squares up against another cat. And I think he's going to put on a show himself. And I think he's going to be leaving that night, with a big smile on his face and a UFC contract in hand.
And it's easy for guys to shrink in the limelight, but as you pointed out the other day, Mike's fought in front of Roy Jones Jr. on one of his cards on his final fight, so it's not like he's Dana White is going to make him shrink, or he's going to buckle under the pressure. He's fought in front of legends before. Yeah. It's just another day.
Well, it takes a special breed of human being to get in there and square up against another guy, you know, and start throwing hands and feet, you know. So that's for starters. But he's the type of personality he is. I don't see it. I don't see any kind of, you know, if it didn't go his way, it's not because he was, you know, wilting under the immense pressure. He's not that type. And I think he's going to come out with a UFC contract in hand.
I think so. I hope so. He's been at it for quite a while and be. Nice, lots of local guys making a big name for themselves on the national spotlight, and horses.
And horses too.
I believe that's it for this week. We'll be back next week to talk a little baseball and
a lot of it to be played.
Yeah, there's a lot to be played, and we'll see how the postseason is going to shake out.
Definitely.
So, appreciate you stopping by. We'll see you next week on the Press Box, presented by Columbia Green Federal Credit Union.